against MIBR. Community poll says 71% of you favor OXG, 29% MIBR. But as with all the social votes, we always have to say the same thing. It's often a popularity contest. So depends on who's tuned in, whether you're supporting OXG or not. Fun fact, there are 6 Brazilians in the server. Because OXG has a secret weapon of their own, ready to unleash the Brazilian beast known as Kino.
Yeah, so that means that no matter which of these two teams win, Brazil is taking home a dub, and that's a big deal. So already getting the auto win there for Brazil. We also have a Canadian here in this match as well, Foxe, least we forget. So this is a pretty widespread on the nationality scale when it comes to these types of matches and international competition. And worth noting, while we're on the topic of talking about players, you do have 2 players who still haven't got a lot of experience at this scale on these kinds of stages. That's Yaga and Kino. They are on the lesser side of experience in this matchup. It could be something that holds Oxygen back as we go into this match, but if the Parabellum match is anything to go by, then that's not going to happen.
I mean, you have to set expectations accordingly here. And right now, if you try to base it off of the one match that OXG has played and the one match that MIBR have played, well, you can't really discern anything from it, right? The one thing that is immediately changing is that MIBR actually banned an operator on attack, which is different from their matchup earlier on. So
they did
I have seen enough whiny tweets out of North America, by the way, about how teams don't ban during scrims. So, NA, sorry, but that's now the new meta. I think Lycan agrees with that. So North America, though, as much as they may complain on Twitter, they don't play Consulate. It's something else that is unique to the region. It is one of the least played maps in all of NA. So where do we really go here for OXG? Is it possible that they've been saving up in anticipation for SI?
Maybe. If I'm looking at the map stats for Consulate on Oxygen's side, I would say it's just a bad map for them, in my opinion. They did manage to win it in a Pro-Am once against Team Mystic, yeah. But they lost it against Disrupt.
Oh, Team Misty. They battle at a Cerulean City.
Okay, well, Oxygen did also lose it against
Starmie.
Disrupt.
Star U.
Whereas on MIBR side, they managed to beat Ninjas in Pajamas 7-1 on this map in Copa Elite 6. That's the 2021 Copa Elite 6. So that's a recent event, and that's recent experience winning on this map. So this, at least from the data that I've managed to drudge up here, this is a much better map for MIBR. And, you suggested maybe Oxygen were hiding strats for Consulate, and I sure hope so for their sake.
It is a little puzzling to me, though. If you go back and you look at that TSM versus MIBR game, now maybe it's just because it was on Clubhouse. Maybe MIBR had a slow start. Maybe they just weren't prepped and ready. First game shakes. Any particular reason why. But that was a really poor start for MIBR at this event. Yeah. They really did not show up, and especially coming out of LATAM. This is one of the teams that statistically is towards the top end of Brazil. You had some of the teams that were towards the lower portion. Furia and Team One have been okay, but in terms of pedigree and in terms of success, I would think most people would agree they trail teams like MIBR, NIP, FaZe, and Liquid in terms of what they are capable of doing. So the teams that you didn't expect to do well in Brazil come in and they're cleaning up, and they cleaned up yesterday. MIBR in that one game, and that's it so far, did not live up to expectations. So is it just going to be a bad day for them in general? Because yesterday we saw a couple teams have bad days, and it might take until they play again for them to shake it off. We'll see usually within 1 or 2 rounds of what the tempo is going to be.
Well, lots of droning going in here to try and isolate these defenders. Already spotting out a number of them. This is an Archives Teller's defense to start things off for Oxygen. MIBR putting a focus on clearing from the west side over. That way they can get a good amount of control on the overall map to isolate these defenders as much as possible before they start engaging them.
So they're going to have to clean out the roam that's being held upstairs, and MIBR understands this. They're assembled over by Long Desk on that second floor, while OXG have Yaga, Vert, and Foxay hold up. Or Vertical and Yaga, rather, with Foxay down below supporting. I should be a little bit more specific. Up comes Kino to the rescue. He'll get the very first pick of the series, distracted by the drone and then punished by Lukid. So ultimately, both teams go back-to-back.
Even exchange is decent for the attack, considering they managed to shave off one of their C4s on the defense. Losing Raps is not going to be great, though, for MIBR. He could have helped a lot with clearing out admin office using those lifelines. There's going to be Reduct, managing to take down Vertical, and there's no re from Oxygen. In fact, it'll get worse as Yaga hits the floor.
Fellapox collapsing on the one player from OXG upstairs, and that leaves the two remaining from OXG. Foxay and Laxing, often the last two alive for their squad due to the way that they play off-site, or at least lurking, as we've talked about that before. Falls is in. Does Foxay know how close he is? He pops up and he manages to connect. He knows he's got another. Hits the neck, but not enough as Falls gets that one. Laxing's grand entry only nets a single kill. MIBR takes round number 1.
Oh, wow. Well-conducted round there from MIBR. Love to see that. Most of it comes down to the clear upstairs. The fact that MIBR was able to inflict so much punishment on those 3 roamers placed upstairs in admin office by Coffin, Printer, that's usually going to work out better for the defenders. But the only success that Oxygen was able to find upstairs was actually Kino's leadoff pick that we saw right there. That's it. After that, it went to hell in a handbasket real quick for Oxygen on the top floor. MIBR get full domination from the top and then are able to convert that and their significant man advantage into a easy breezy execute into the site.
Every time I hear easy breezy, I'm just...
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's ingrained in me. Goes to show you how powerful marketing can be. That previous round,
spent a lot on that.
They probably did, and they probably continue to. Michael, I don't know if you know this, but the cosmetics market makes at least a couple $dozen a year. So
a couple dozen?
At least a couple dozen. That first round, by the way, MIBR's speed, their tempo, their pace, really strong. Within a minute and 20 seconds, they'd cleared out most of that top floor and then pushed back OXG to the point where there was only 2 remaining members. You invest heavily in that top floor hold, that's fine, by the way. It's no big deal if you're going to put bodies upstairs, but you have to play to support each other. And it looked like Kino was being supported by Yaga, but he was a little bit too far off, and that's what allowed Kino to get punished. He was the first domino to fall, and then immediately the push up from Vertical did not work out. And he got pinched. Why? Because there was no support off of Kino in time, and it was just a bit off, just a couple steps off for OXG, but sometimes a couple steps can make a sizable difference. Second round, and OXG is going to go downstairs, so they'll head to the garage, a different bomb site than in the very first round, even though half of Teller's Archives is in the basement.
Yeah. I mean, it's the only double floor site on this map, so it's kind of its own little classification. MIBR once again, though, seem to want to go for the roam clear strategy. Same thing they did in the first round. Last time it was west over. This time it's going to be top down. So they're going to try and make sure that they're not dealing with any roamers who will come and create problems later. It's going to be Vertical on the Cav, who will attempt to cause problems, actually sooner rather than later, as he's playing right above the main lobby. And he's going to... Wow, he gets wall banged by Fellapox. Did he have information? I didn't see a drone. There's no mark.
That's a VAC right there. If you could join me right now, there's 3 letters, VAC. That is a VAC shot. It's very...
if I've ever...
We'll check the Moss later. We'll have to check the Moss. You know, we have no choice. So...
That's an impressive shot there from Fellapox to start things off. And that basically saves MIBR about 30 to 40 seconds on their attack, because that's about the amount of time Vertical could have wasted.
Yeah, that's a rough one as well, getting that opening pick. You know, Kino was immediately traded off, so the first pick that came out in round number 1 was not as impactful as it could be. You know, we do keep track of these opening kills, opening duels, and it's something I like to touch upon because it gives you a good understanding of where a round is going. In this case, though, this is a genuine first pick. You take out a Cav, an operator that you go all in on when it comes to roaming, and this is a sizable amount of map control that is now forfeit. A Nitro Cell will have no problem connecting off of a very routine pattern upstairs for the sledge. Foxay punishes Luke because of that. Back to a 4v4. So the advantage, while it lasted about 25 seconds for MIBR, doesn't actually net anything.
So that's actually massive too, because it's your sledge of all operators. Luckily for MIBR, there are breach charges in the pocket of Raps, so he's still going to be able to play the vertical and open up all the holes that Luke was not able to open up before.
No, vertical's dead. Lane's going down, by the way, from Falls, right in front of the black car, or the back of the black car, rather, as Raps gets one. Foxay's on the ground, stops one in his tracks, can't get more than that. Rayduck spins around, punishes Yaga, and there's a down. Fox with a double kill. He could possibly have 4 as he needs to secure Raps. No withstand available for the Zofia. Fox is still distracted over by Yellow. He'll look the wrong way, finished off by Felipox outside. The last chance for OXG evaporates in front of their very eyes, and it's MIBR up by 2.
So I was talking about this in the pregame a little bit, and we briefly touched on the fact that this map is not, as far as we can tell, is not a good one for Oxygen, and is very good for MIBR if recent history suggests anything. And that, to me, is already starting to play out here in this match. I know we're only 2 rounds in, but strategically speaking, I haven't really seen a lot from Oxygen in the way of defensive strategy that suggests to me they know what they're getting themselves into in this match. There's been a lot of gaps in their defense. That last round in particular, they're relying heavily on 2 things. They're relying on their roamers, who effectively did nothing because they got, well, one of them got random wallbanged, and the other one just lingered in Visa for too long. And then they're also relying on their Evil Eyes to deny the plant. We've all learned from every time you watch Consulate on a basement defense, just Evil Eyes is not enough to dissuade the attackers from planting just inside garage. So that was I think a light hold there from Oxygen, and not the best setup, which met with the exact amount of success I would have expected.
10 seconds to insertion.
One thing that I remember from OXG, and obviously this is completely anecdotal and by no means based in any real data or stats or understanding of the way that OXG plays this map across more than 1 or 2 opportunities. But the one thing that I do recall from OXG when they have played Consulate in the past is that the hallmark of Oxygen, and the hallmark of most teams that have Laxing on it, is that oftentimes Laxing will be dispatched on his own. He will be playing to survive and playing off his own instincts and game sense. Maybe somebody will support him. It's usually Foxay, but not always a given. And the rest of the team will hunker down on site. Well, the last couple times I vividly remember OXG playing this map, what would happen is either Laxing or somebody on the roam with him would get pinched immediately, leaving a very weak on-site presence, or the site would get swamped and Laxing would have to retake. Now, the thing is that if you speak to a lot of NA teams, they say that if a strat is relying specifically on Fox or Laxing to play deep off-site, you just need to be prepared for a late flank, and as long as you don't get your numbers narrowed down, which is not always a given, but as long as you don't get your numbers narrowed down, you're in okay position to stop Laxing.
That C4 just missing Felipox is actually a huge blow to Oxygen. You can see they set that one up for success and met with failure. Unfortunate for the defense here. I also wanted to quickly mention the fact that we do actually have Kino running the MIBR charm. And that's a nice little wholesome, nod of respect. Trade here, upstairs, Felipox for Yaga. On the initial engagement, we saw the same trade the last time Oxygen defended this site. But this time, it's going to favor Oxygen instead of MIBR. Luke with the vault in there from the balcony, and he's going to actually correct that. So now we go back to even man count. But still, some pressure upstairs as Vertical is able to fight his way out of Cafeteria.
And he's still holding off this angle and anticipating either Lukid or Falls to try and feed themselves to him. Instead, it's Laxing to get the one onto Lukid, leaving Falls in a 1v3. So OXG's best chance on defense right now rests in round 3. They've been unsuccessful thus far for a wide variety of reasons. And I also want to note, with the HPs on both Vertical and Laxing, if Falls has intel, and he's able to play off of this, whether his teammates have flank drones set up, or he just simply has superior game sense, it's a possibility that he's able to walk away with this round, but his chances just got a lot slimmer. There's a default cam up in main lobby that spots him. He doesn't look in that direction, either assuming that somebody's got it, or he didn't need to worry about it. But there's 2 dead members of OXG. They're going to be on cam. Falls taking some damage from the hatch above. He'll have to scamper off. And this Teller's Archive's second defense from OXG. Mozzie down the stairs, but Falls is making a ton of noise, and Vertical just needs to swing and collect the kill to give OXG their very first round.
Well, the slightly more passive hold up on the top floor worked out. They maintained their presence on Visa's staircase, but fell back from long desk, mostly playing around printer and cafeteria. I like that setup a little bit better there for Oxygen. It worked out much better, that's for sure. When it comes to MIBR, their clear upstairs was a little bit too far apart from each other. Look at Fellapox die right here. And where's his support? Where are his teammates? That second kill we just watched is actually much farther into the round. If you looked at the timers, you'll have noticed that there wasn't a lot of refrag potential from MIBR because they were so far from each other. And that is a stark contrast to the 2 rounds we saw prior, where MIBR were arm in arm, clearing out the building together.
Attackers need to locate.
I guess just a little bit of a slip there, and Oxygen took full advantage. One thing, real quick, I also want to mention, we're going back to the bottom floor, and once again, the only real indirect way to deny the plan are going to be your Evil Eyes and your C4s, and C4s do not go that far down here. It's difficult to make them work, so Oxygen are not adapting their strategy to this bottom floor as much as I would hope they would.
Well, I mean, OXG have only played the 2 bomb sites since the start of this match right now. They went to Teller's Archives, lost it. Went to this bomb site that they're on right now, Garage. Lost it? Oh, what?
10 seconds to insert.
I mean, I don't think it's about... It's just, it looks better.
5 seconds to go.
It just gives you a good line of sight onto yellow and control Garage. It's practical, Parker.
Heading out to defuse a bomb.
Michael, it's not the size that matters, it's how you use it. So in that case, it sounds like they're gonna use it quite well.
Yes, they're using those holes to good effect to control the garage and the yellow staircase. You can get horizontal and vertical angles through that, and please don't. And you already did it once, so there's no more of that.
I don't know
For the rest of the match.
Regardless, what I was going to say right now is that through these 4 rounds, there have only been 2 sites that have been played. Now, there was small changes that were made on Teller's Archives in order for them to capture a victory there. If you recall, it's not too long ago, but let's go back to round number 2, in which MIBR stormed this site and won it in what was essentially a 2v0 at the very end, technically a 3v0 because the Zofio was down. I think Fox got the Zof kill right before he got punished by Fellapox. But regardless, was that Fellapox or it was Falls? I think it was Fellapox who got that final kill. Regardless. One of the reasons why this defense did not work out for OXG on their initial hold back in round 2 was because Vertical got pinched early as Caveira upstairs, dying with nothing accomplished. But then almost immediately, they managed to get a trade-off, so that advantage for MIBR didn't really work. But what I will say is that while MIBR didn't accomplish anything after getting that pick, it did allow them to have better control of the map without really needing to give up too much. And it looks like it's going to happen again, as Vertical gets taken down by Rayduct right as I'm talking, and MIBR, same timing. 90 seconds left in the round, MIBR has a player lead.
Where's the answer back here from Oxygen is the question. Vertical having a lot of problems on that roam upstairs. So far not able to correct it. And that's going to cause problems for Oxygen as a whole. This should give the round over to MIBR, but as the time continues to dwindle, it might not. They're trying to drone out the remaining roamers. They found Kino inside of the bathroom thanks to that drone, and now his day is about to get a lot worse as he's getting pinched on. He'll take one down with him, but still. Top floor control is completely established now for MIBR, and they can start opening up above the site. Oh, wait, no, I spoke too soon. Laxing's managed to wake his way into projector. This could be huge.
You see that flash get tossed? Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, no, no, no. Yeah.
The sledge pick, by the way, that we talked about previously in round 2. If you allow a sledge to stay up on that floor, he's going to be able to do tons of damage, but his pattern is so predictable. Second time in a row, same site, Fox A lobs up a C4 and it connects. The Jackal of Fellapox might as well be playing on an entirely different map as he is miles away from being able to get towards the objective. He's on A right now, doesn't have diffuser. He'll hit the barbed wire, and anybody playing over by that cafeteria will hear it. Could potentially be Yaga now, who's prepped and ready for this. Down goes Falls, and Fellapox will swing. Nice reflexive play from him with the C7 in hand, but that's all he's going to get. His day ends in the cafeteria, break room, whatever you want to call it. And just like that, The two sites that OXG had lost, Michael, they now have victories on it, and we have a tie game.
So this time, two things. One, you talked about it, Parker, and you're absolutely right. The sledge play there from MIBR is entirely too predictable. He's using the same pattern of opening holes every single round, and it's just... Foxy got that kill sooner than last time. He actually went out of his way. He's like, oh, he's going to keep doing this? All right, there's the freebie. And also, the fact that Oxygen tripled down on their top floor roam. They brought Laxing upstairs after 2 roamers already died upstairs. That is a hefty investment from the defenders, and it paid out. MIBR did not expect it. They were not prepared for it. They did not have adequate flank watch. And yeah, well done to Oxygen. I'm a little curious why they just used a C4 to make a rotate hole when they have a shotgun. Am I missing something, Parker?
C4's faster.
I mean, yeah, that is true. You are not wrong about that. But but really though?
Oh, that's all that matters. C4's faster.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, Kino does have a lot of holes to make upstairs. He's got to make rotates and other things. So it's honestly probably part of their dry run that he does that. And you can take a loss on 1 C4. It's not a huge deal, especially considering, again, how many shotgun blasts needs going to the top floor when
Michael, they have an Aruni. Like, it's obviously a mistake.
No,
you have an operator who literally punches holes in things. No, you do not need to use a nitro cell there.
It's conceivable that it's not a mistake. Like, I'm not saying I would do it, Parker. I'm just saying... Okay, no, listen, the reason I say this is because I know what it's like to play like in FPL when you're the guy with the shotgun on this site and you have so many heckin' holes to make. I've had that experience before. It's a lot, Parker. That's all I'm saying. I can conceive the use of the C4.
Hino's got a shotgun, and it would take a Rooney roughly 10 seconds at absolute most to accomplish that. So
no, I know.
This is, by the way, this is like a perfect example of us trying to make sense of things that are very clearly mistakes, or at least, less optical. They're less optimal. Less optical. Less optimal. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe it is a matter of optics. This is, by the way, as we'll talk about it, this is when people complain about us and they're like, why are the casters being so negative? Well, here's the inverse, where that was very clearly not supposed to be done. Aruni could have punched the hole quite easily. No problem. No worry whatsoever. Laxing did not have to be somewhere. He did not have a dinner date. It's not like he was late for an occasion. Anywho, Vertical got spotted on drone down in Visa, so Laxing is now there to support. I don't know if MIBR is going to be able to make anything of this, but with Elapox being upstairs, and he's not too far off from Rayduct, they'll be making a ton of noise. So if Vertical continues to stay down there, whether his position is known or not, he can hear this clear as day. He's got Kino positioned on spiral stairs leading to the basement, and Laxing was down below too. So MIBR will need to effectively draw out this entire map. And this goes back to what I said a couple rounds ago. If you know that Laxing is going to come in for a deep flank late in the round, that's okay. Have somebody set up for that. MIBR's been bringing in Nomad. That works out. It's a good operator to counter it. But amidst the frenzy and amidst the fury, it's possible that they just simply forget about it or overlook it, which allows OXG to get back to site unpunished.
Box A, the first casualty here, and that's your top frag on OXG. He goes down to Rayduct, who's coming down spiral staircase. Could be a second one in line here for Rayduct as Vertical crosses and tellers. Dangerous position to play, but look at the time. 30 seconds left. Not a lot to work with here if you're the attacker. So even though you're winning on the man count, you've got to get this plant down. Fall's going for it, and it looks like he's going to be successful. It's a push out through the smoke. Laxing gets 2 big kills, but he can't stop the planter. Someone else needs to. It's Kino. Right time, right place, and he lands his shots. Man advantage starting to go in the favor of Oxygen, but Rayduct corrects that, playing on spiral staircase. Felipox above. He'll try to play the post plant to the best of his ability, and he'll win his head-to-head with Laxing, leaving just Kino. Only Brazilians alive here in this lobby right now, and he'll try his best to start faking out that disable. It's not going to work out for him, though. He's got too many angles to challenge with Rayduct and Felipox both still alive. That's about as easy as it gets in the post plant for MIBR, and they'll take the round.
Well, that fight upstairs is ultimately what mattered the most. The moment that Felipox was able to stay up there and not be punished as the Jackal meant that Kino's chances of hanging on to that disable were effectively 0. You can shield yourself from the Nomad that's going to be soldiering down spiral stairs. No problem. And Rayduct is not going to be able to get there in time to really punish you, especially if you've still got presence upstairs. That fight swings the other way, and that's very easily an OXG round. Now, all of that goes without saying, because of the fact that there was no intel in the main lobby. You have an Echo on the board, and Yaga has to swing himself. Why? Well, from our vantage point, there were no yokai drones left. So kudos to MIBR if they found them, or potentially not the best timing from OXG if they allowed them to be in positions where they got spotted. People might not realize, if you're just an observer of esports or if you haven't played the game in quite a while, Echo's drones are only cloaked when you're sitting on them. So if you just throw out a yokai drone and it's sitting on the ceiling and you're not manually watching it, then the drone is completely visible. And in fact, it's been a huge nerf to Echo. Because of this, Yaga's amidst the smoke. He doesn't really know what's going on. He's wary of somebody at the main doors of lobby. That's a smart play to make, and he calls it correctly, but isn't able to do much with the thermite. It falls on the ground right by the bomb chassis. And because of the fact that OXG were focused on Visa and the bottom floor, they had nobody to go upstairs and try to retake. And by the time they did, it was way too late, and the plant had already gone down. MIBR had control and only needed to watch 1 or 2 sight lines to stop a retake from OXG.
One thing I briefly want to note, because I feel like it's kind of important in that situation, you all might have noticed the fact that while disabling that diffuser, or attempting to do so, the camera on Kino started looking up at the ceiling. And I just want to go ahead and, this is kind of important, Kino couldn't look up. That's a spectator thing. So when the spectator is watching someone try to disable the diffuser, apparently you could just move the camera around, and they do that. So Kino was still looking at the floor and locked camera, as you would be when you're trying to disable a diffuser in Siege. That's just how it works. And for the observer, they can move the camera around. So that's why that's happening. Just want to be super clear, because it's kind of important for moments like that, that you understand the player on the disable does not have the ability to look up. Little things, they go a long way.
By the way, it was Hap who got credit for that. For those of you that don't know, Hap obviously is the casting partner of Fluke. I believe they're in action right now on the A stream. They might be the experts, or they might actively be casting. I'm not entirely certain of the rotation on the A stream at the moment. But regardless, apparently Hap discovered this during the Benelux League. So
if it's right now, if it's SSG versus Giants, they're not working it. They'll be working TSM versus Makers, and they will be the casters for that.
Oh, there's a Nitro cell from Foxe and a swing now onto Felipox. There's another as well, trying to outduel him by the metal bars. Falls, sustaining some damage. Raps is there as well, and MIBR has their clutches in the bomb site. Vertical will now try to defend against it, but the numbers are in favor of MIBR. Yaga and Vertical side by side, retaking down Visa stairs. Very strange that a diffuser would get planted in the basement of this map. Usually on Teller's Archives, that diffuser's going down on the main floor. This might actually aid OXG if MIBR are firmly entrenched on the basement floor. If they're not defending from above, well, there might be a real chance. Just as I say that, it doesn't matter. There's 3 of them playing down below, and MIBR had a much better understanding of that setup than on the previous take on the Teller's Archives. The first half is in the books, and the Brazilian squad, they're up 4-2.
That straight execute through the Visa hatch was the play for MIBR. A lighter defense on the bottom floor for Oxygen. Not enough trade out on that flow engaged, mostly because MIBR had a distinct man advantage. But you can see there's so many players for Oxygen on the roam. And that's been the main winning angle for Oxygen through this entire map so far, is their roam and its success. If the roam is not able to net some wins here and there, then Oxygen suffers. Luckily for them, they're going on to attack now, and that should be a better side, all things considered, for Oxygen on this map. But I gotta say, a 4-2, not looking amazing for Oxygen right now. And I really do feel like a big part of this is the map we're playing on. It was talked about on the desk by the experts, X and Demo, and I think they're right. Consulate is not necessarily a North American map. It's not a staple in NA. And on the other hand, again, as I mentioned earlier, MIBR managing to beat Ninjas in Pajamas very recently on this map, 7-1 against NIP. That's, I mean, even if that's a weak map for Ninjas in Pajamas, and I'm not entirely sure about that, it's still impressive. And it does suggest that this is a good map for MIBR.
MIBR might have just had a very unfavorable matchup against TSM earlier on, too. And that's one of the things that Such a small sample size and best of ones really doesn't give us the best understanding of how a team actually plays. I mean, you look at certain matchups, and you think to yourself, okay, well, is this a one-off? Is this an outlier? MIBR might just need time to wake up. Well, you know, we've seen teams during international events that have struggled in the first match or the second match of the day because they're literally still waking up. They're maybe not warmed up. Maybe they're not in the right headspace. They need some time to get rolling and get in the groove. So this is more the MIBR that we expected to see. Not so much the OXG either, by the way, especially with OXG coming into this as the #1 ranked team in NA.
Yeah, it's been rough, and that nade right there is another it's a little thing that goes a long way, all right? The Kino had full information on Reduct, who was playing in mezzanine, connector, and his free rotate there, and the fact that the nade went so wide, that's a little thing that matters a lot. It could have been the leadoff pick. Here come the Electro Claws, by the way. I think they're going to be successful. So the exothermic charge, if placed, will be destroyed. Looks like Fox did commit to that placement, so he's lost one now, and he'll have to work to get another on the wall.
I really like the fact that OXG has broken what would be a conventional lineup here. I don't know if it's going to work, and I know that in the past we've looked at lineups that we consider suboptimal, or as I said earlier, potentially sub-optical. I think he got it, by the way, but there was a second that was thrown into the roof, that Electric Claw from the Sam King, as they're called.
Yeah, he got it.
They did get it. So one of the panels right now lacks electrification. They're able to get that open if Fox A is quick enough, or potentially they can use the can opener here. But the fact that Vertical has that mini hard breach device suggests to me that they were looking for more than just one.
Yeah, I mean, they are going to be able to likely get this open, though. And there you go. Open sesame, says Fox A. Kino playing above with the sledge. 50 seconds. He could start making some holes. But he's got other things on his mind. He's looking at the yellow stairs. There's still a roamer upstairs, though. Actually, there's two. Lukit and Fellapox are on a deep roam. They could seriously cause problems for Oxygen as this comes down to the execute.
And I don't think OXG has droned them out either. So the game plan here is going to be go in, use your set of smokes, try to cut off angles so that when the retake does happen, by the time the smoke clears, you are able to challenge a fight with greater information. But right now, OXG is not balancing this clock as well as they could have. It's going to allow Lukid to drop on down. Yaga technically credited with the very first kill, but MIBR next two on the board. In goes Laxing. Amidst the sound of those track stingers going off, he gets punished for it, and MIBR absolutely wipes the floor with OXG. They're up 5-2.
Okay, and now the question we were asking earlier, is Oxygen going to be any decent at Consulate? I think it's just been answered, at least in my opinion, because what I saw there was a pretty clear no. And the most of that comes down to the fact that the execution we just saw from Oxygen, I mean, say what you will about their defenses because they were hit and miss, but that execution shows a clear lack of understanding of what they're going to be confronted with against MIBR. This roam, there were two roamers offsite for MIBR, Lukid and Fellapox. Neither of them were contested. There was no full clear from top to bottom from Oxygen, no like the ones we saw out of MIBR. There was no flank watch. They just sent their sledge into piano and said, good luck, fend for yourself, open up some holes, maybe get a kill or two. And then most of the rest of Oxygen is trying to challenge from yellow stairs and the breach. A breach, by the way, that took them way too long to get open. I know that they brought an unconventional lineup with the 0, and that's cool, but it's just... And I like the ideas we're seeing from Oxygen. I could also safely say that that execution had too many glaring holes in it.
Here's the question that I need to ask, and this one is going to be addressed to Hopes and Redeemer, obviously. The two, I think they're dual or joint coaches, technically, of OXG. But the question that I need to ask them at this point, in a best-of-1 banning system, the map that's getting played is usually a map that both teams are comfortable with. You have your default map bans, a 7-map map pool, you ban 3, they ban 3, the decider is where you go. Given how little North America plays Consulate, and given how little OXG tends to play Consulate, why would they be choosing... This is a lineup for the default cam, by the way. Just in case people were curious. You can shoot the default cam through the floor. I don't know if he got it or not. He can't tell. we lack critical information. The one thing I have to ask is, why would you go to Consulate? Do they think, have they been saving strats and concealing strats for this map in particular? Do they think that it's just a weak map for MIBR, despite the stats typically saying so? And that's the big question that I have right now.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, Parker. Oxygen's bans were Villa, Cafe, and Coastline, so maybe there's something to dissect there. I know for sure that Oxygen does not like, at least, hang on, let me double check that. Pretty sure they don't, yeah, they don't like Cafe. They don't like it at all, and that makes sense. As for Villa, they also don't like Villa based on their bans, and you could say they are okay at Coastline. So I'm not really sure about those bans. I'm not sure why they brought up themselves here. As you mentioned, maybe they know they feel like they were more adept than they're turning out to be here.
Well, for a lot of people, OXG was the team to look out for here in NA. I mean, obviously, Dark Zero, TSM, and SSG all limped into this event. They finished in the lower half of the NAL. OXG won it. They looked like these additions of Yaga and Kino were huge helps to the team, and they've been playing strong Rainbow Six. Something is obviously off. Either that or MIBR is really a dominant team, and they just had a tough go of it at the start. Regardless, there's a minute to go, and Yaga taking some damage while off-site. Foxe, his teammate, punishing one player. Now it's Lukid next in line of sight for OXG. He's trapped in the corner, tries to escape, but Yaga just a little bit better.
That's a slight overextension there from Lukid, and it's going to give a lot of advantage to Oxygen, which will get even better as down goes Raps. It's just Felipox and Falls now. Falls the only anchor. Felipox will go down to the Trax Stingers and Laxing's rifle, but it's the Trax to get the actual kill. Falls, rocking a hard place. He'll get one. That's impressive shooting. Nice, a second. He needs to stop the planter, though, and he's not going to be able to make that happen as the plant goes down behind the bomb chassis. Falls now challenging. He's got so many angles to deal with, and it's Foxe, the planter himself, to get the final kill. Oxygen show a little bit of life here on Consulate.
Yeah, no chance he's getting out of that alive. When you've got Laxing down below looking up through the hatch, you are effectively dead. At best, you're going to be able to do is get one trade, and that's it. OXG, obviously, not amped for their performance so far. MIBR has been firmly in the driver's seat on this map, and it's not even a matter of sides, because Consulate does tend to be relatively even. It depends an awful lot on the teams playing, their style of play, and the operators that end up getting banned. Now, when I look at Ashe and Thatcher as the two bans, and then I look at Valkyrie and Wamai as the defense bans, I don't think to myself, okay, this tilts one way or the other. This is going to be a relatively even matchup, and the better team is going to come out rather than, you know, a 4-2 for the defense every time or a 4-2 for the attackers every time. So, yeah, I don't know what's going wrong with OXG right here. There was a timeout taken, by the way. Your screen said NIP. Is not correct. OXG are not smurfing as NIP, I promise. But OXG, obviously, right now, a little bit on the ropes. They've taken a timeout to try and settle things down and, just like us, figure out what's going wrong for them.
Yeah, I can tell you what's going right, at least, in that last round. And I think this is an important point that speaks to the rest of what we're seeing through this map. Oxygen's execution there through admin office was about as basic as it gets on Consulate. It's downright old, that execute. One on the balcony, everyone else executing from admin. Let's take into projector, get that plant down. And I like that we're seeing that from Oxygen, because reverting back to the basics when you're on a map that maybe you aren't so comfortable with is definitely the play, and it netted success for Oxygen. So they just took their tactical timeout. I'm sure they're discussing things like this right now for their future executions. Let's see more of those types of rounds and fewer of the weird, wacky basement attacks where they sort of kind of want to go vertical, but also don't clear out the roamers, and it gets confusing kind of rounds. Let's, yeah, put those in a corner. Oxygen, keep it simple. If they can do that, I think they've got a chance at, you know, maybe making something happen here.
One thing as well that we kind of overlooked was the fact that they tried to impact, MIBR tried to impact Visa Stairs. Now, obviously it didn't work, and when that happened, you have that full line of sight leading into projector. A lot of teams, when they're attacking the upstairs bomb site, are going to take the Visa Stairs, and they're going to take admin very quickly. And that one wall that leads over Visa Stairs is almost always going to get opened up. If you take a look, it's reinforced again. Even though it's a different bomb site for MIBR, that is still a very pivotal wall, because if you are defending either Lobby or Teller's Archives, As right now, you can see on your screen, it's a Teller's Archives defense. You're often going to have somebody playing either upstairs in admin or inside a projector. That wall is critical because when you open up that wall, you essentially sit somebody up there playing long angles down to either the first floor or the basement, while also being able to police anybody inside a projector and potentially looking into connector if they decide to swing from that angle and you're positioned in such a way. It's a very powerful position to be in. And the impact trick that came out didn't work, but it was still neat to see because I honestly can't remember if I've seen somebody try to impact trick that before.
I'm not sure either, to be honest. It's possible. We don't see a lot of Consulate, as we mentioned earlier. It's just not played a lot in North America. So, at least in NA, probably not. I mean, to further express the disparity between teams, team regions, rather, top floor was defended earlier by MIBR. NA never goes to top. They leave that stuff alone. Top floor does not work in North America. It's got like a 20% success rate. So
does it work anywhere is the question, because it seems like every time I'm watching Consulate, regardless of region, that top floor bomb site is not being held.
I mean, MIBR did bring us there, so they felt like they had something going. It didn't work. No, it didn't work. It was the first successful attack round for Oxygen, but it was you know, they thought they had something going. Maybe it's just that NA teams are really good at attacking the top floor, Parker. I don't know. What we do know is that this is a slow round, and it's starting off in favor of MIBR, with Fellapox getting the leadoff kill onto Kino.
You want to call him Kino?
I've actually never made that mistake before. So
I almost did.
No, I didn't. I just like had to double check the name, and I was also like, I was thinking about saying his fellow countryman Kino, but I cut that out at the last second, and instead I just said Kino.
Yeah, it's just too much. But you've lost the sledge, by the way. A sledge in the way that he plays out on a Teller's Archives take is that your sledge is likely going to be upstairs inside of admin. He's going to make a lot of holes that then somebody can sit upstairs and watch, especially if you anticipate that the diffuser is going to go down on that first floor. More often than not, the attackers will want that diffuser to go somewhere near the desks inside of the bomb site. They're not going to want to go onto the basement. So even though MIBR did it, it is still more often than not quite unusual to see that. Losing the sledge is a major pain here.
Yeah, he definitely needs to stay up a little bit more. Vertical going to fall victim to that alibi Prisma, so that's going to mark him out, and Falls knows exactly what he's dealing with at the bottom of that spiral staircase. Look at the time, 20 seconds left for this execute. Oxygen need to pick up the pace.
They absolutely do, and Yaga equalizes, turns away, downstairs, bottom site. It's all in favor for OXG. Unfortunately, Vertical's a little bit too slow, and Yaga dies. Fellapox drops. He gets splattered away. Raps' entrance, going to come through the hatch. It explodes, and he drops. Looking to do as much damage as possible. Prisma just continuously marking. Lukid, nothing for him, so it's Raps in a 1v3 with diffuser down. Pistol out, active desperation. OXG swings, and they take it 2 in a row.
Oh, Vertical, a huge round for him there. Yes, he was a little bit too slow to save his teammate from Reduct, but at the same time, he got the re, and crucially, he did not lose a fight after. So crucial in that round, just use that word twice, to hold up on the plant and the post plant. So really great job there to Vertical. He's compensating for the lack of wins from other Oxygen players in some of these fights, and importantly, we're 1 round away now from this being an even split 5-5. So it's looking a little bit better for Oxygen on the attacking side. Clearly, they're more comfortable here. I will say, though, that round easily could have been MIBR's. That was way too close, down to the wire on that clock.
This is a very attacker-sided Consulate at the moment, but after 9 rounds, only a third of them. That means just 3 if you do quick math. I know I'm breaking the rules, but I did math on stream. Only 3 of the 9 rounds played out so far have broken in favor of the defense. It looked like MIBR understood how to play defense quite successfully after their first hold, but then after that, it's been OXG taking the next 2 rounds, and obviously a timeout came on that previous round, so there's some strategy that's going on. As far as I'm aware, MIBR has not taken their timeout, so they can still cool things down if they end up losing the lead or end up forfeiting the lead entirely. In this particular case, if OXG takes 3 in a row, I wouldn't be too surprised to see MIBR take a timeout and try to sort things. It's a downstairs defense, by the way, now, as this is where MIBR won on their very first defense, and they did so for a number of reasons. The biggest was how slow and lethargic OXG's take was. MIBR was able to mop up because OXG mismanaged the clock. This is something that's actually very common in North America, is a lot of these teams in NA have been called slow by their peers in other leagues.
Yeah, and it's a fair assertion to say that Oxygen is slow on the attack. And also important in that last time Oxygen attacked on the bottom floor is that they didn't clear out the roamers like they're doing now. So this is a very different attack strategy already from Oxygen. They're confronting the problem they know to exist on the top floor head on. And the round result will likely be determined by what happens with these roamers. If they lose all their fights, and this is 2 kills for free on Oxygen's side, and as long as not too much time is wasted, that should be Oxygen's round. If it's an even exchange, then honestly, MIBR might be on top. But look at that. Lead off frag for Yaga. Down goes Lukid, and now it's all pressure on Raps.
And Raps was getting spotted as well. It looked like the Jackal tracks were on him, maybe another one of his cohorts from above, but it's going to force the Malusi off of the second floor, who very quickly gets to the basement using those yellow stairs. That means Kino has control of console office upstairs, CEO as it's often referred to as. And he's still getting some marks. He's going to open up some of bathroom, which is where Rayduct is sitting. There's a mute jammer in front of him, and also 3 ADSs, which means that as long as they don't recharge, an ADS will catch 1 projectile each. That means that they'll be able to save him from 3 grenades if used. In this particular instance, there's only 2 grenades on the board from Kino, so maybe burn out a couple flashes, something along those lines. You'll be in a very advantageous position playing in that bathroom spot. Here's one question mark, though. Falls' drone is upstairs. The Yokai has spotted Kino. They'll burn out some of the ADSs. There it goes. Grenade drops, takes out everything with it except for Rayduct, who doesn't even take a single point of damage.
He was playing around the corner, and he manages to avoid certain death, but now he's spotted. He might have been spotted anyway. That mute jammer could have protected him, but I don't think so. He's definitely given away his intention with the shotgun blasts. He'll wide swing and do some damage to Kino, but Vertical's there on the other angle, and he'll take down another MIBR player with 30 seconds left. Oxygen have distinct man advantage, control advantage, and they have their avenue to execute into the site as Foxay begins to open up the garage.
Only downside, though, is going to be whether there are any Yokai drones left for Falls, and also the plant denial that can come out from Evil Eye cams on Fellapox's hand or the Nitro Cell of Raps, but it really depends on where Malusi is in order to get that toss off. Also, all those players, while they're looking to stop and deny the plant, will be in the waiting arms of OXG. First kill on the execute comes out for Falls, and now Raps one as well. It's equalized to 3v3. Diffuser going down, but everybody from OXG is puzzlingly dead. Falls takes matters into his own hands. It's match point for MIBR.
Oxygen spread themselves way too thin. Not enough information on the site. You said it at the beginning of the round, Parker, and I completely agree with you. Oxygen has been too darn slow on their executions. What happened there was that Oxygen did the job of clearing out the roamers, and amazingly, they didn't even lose a player, Parker. That's huge. Massive win for Oxygen, right? Full clear, Rayduct and Lukid both go down, and things are looking great. However, they do lose some HP, and they have no idea what's going on in sight because they've been so fixated on those top 2 floors. They haven't cleared out the Evil Eyes, they haven't cleared out the Yokais, they haven't dealt with the roamer that is still running around as he came up Visa staircase. Way too many holes in that attack and in their control, despite the fact that they had such a man advantage. And they also, to add insult to injury, to make it worse, Oxygen split themselves up a lot when they went for the execute. They spread themselves really thin. I don't know why they're trying to come in from every possible angle in like solo engagements, but that was not the play.
Well, there's obviously going to be a lot to dissect here, and the experts will be able to go over it. I'm almost certain as well that there will be questions raised and thoughts shared, as OXG is a team that will usually head to social media, win or lose, and give a good idea of what exactly is happening. What could be the very final defense right now is back upstairs. So interesting to see MIBR favor this over Lobby. And in fact, Lobby, what has often been one of the 3 most played sites on this map, has only shown up just once today. MIBR is bucking the trend by going upstairs to CEO twice now. It is often considered a very poor site to defend because of the very little room for error you have once you lose control of admin. and they can possibly get control of console office windows, you run out of space on the site very quickly.
Oh, I love what I'm seeing here, though, from MIBR. They know where the execute's going to come from. Last time Oxygen attacked here, they just came in from admin office. It worked out great for them. Admin office and balcony execute onto A. It was the perfect strat for Oxygen. It was very simple, and they did it well. But here, MIBR, they know to expect this now. They've stacked their utility for it, and they've brought a Clash to specifically counter this push. So MIBR are playing into Oxygen's setup on the execute.
And they're going for the setup, like you said, and MIBR is still repositioning. So any utility that they had over by B, over by the console office site, referred to as CEO, has now been moved and repositioned. So they're going to bunker down right by Long Desk. Laxing's drone from below has eyes on somebody playing inside of Archives, or Tellers rather, and it's Felipox who's going to take a lot of damage and eventually be finished off. Thank goodness for Vertical being in the position he was, because Yaga almost narrowly walked away from that one, dead.
They do technically, yeah. In Siege, corpses can walk for a little bit, so that does count. You are technically correct.
I wanted to see if you were going to pick up on it, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you could say it's...
Awkward
it makes
silence,
sense.
and I was like, oh no, he didn't get what I said.
it makes sense. It's going to be another walking corpse here. This time it's Luke. It falls Will Ree, though, as he starts to take into A. He's going to get aggressive. He knows that he's down a man, and if he doesn't get aggro, especially with a Clash in play, that's one less gun, one fewer gun, I should say, you will have a bad time defending in a 2 versus 4 like this.
Do you have any utility to deal with the Clash? That's the real question here. Yaga does not. So outside of flashbangs, there's really nothing to stop them. Maybe back her into some of those track stingers from Laxing, but that's really all they're going to get. Foxay with Diffuser in hand could be in a head-to-head gunfight with Falls right now as we approach the danger zone for OXG. This map is on the line, and because of that, this match also happens to be on the line. All the while Rayduct is in his position, 9 kills to his name, he's going to be calling from Long Desk. Laxing could punish him from the side if Rayduct gets lured out. Instead, OXG's focus is on the reinforcements on the wall leading into Projector. Rayduct sustaining some damage, but it's just bouncing off of the shield. 15 seconds to go for OXG to really find their footing. Falls knows there's one playing on spiral stairs. Lots of damage done to Laxing. Immediately pivots, but he looks the wrong way. Foxay, why can't you get on in? Pistol out for Falls. Finally, OXG bursts in. They have control of meeting, and the diffuser is going down. It'll need to be stopped. Shield on the back for Rayduct, firing away. Raps is now in as well. It's all up to Raps to clutch out. He has it, and he has the diffuser. Laxing is down. Does he know it, though? That's the real question. He secures quite easily. Finish him off. There you go. Big 3-piece from Raps. MIBR will take the map 7-4.
You can see how happy MIBR were about that. And one thing I gotta point out there at the end, the ridiculous amount of hesitation on Oxygen's part. I mean, not just Foxay, but the